Today we have a very special guest, Olympic silver medalist MyKayla Skinner. From grueling training days to standing on the world's biggest stage, she is here to share what it really takes to compete at the Olympic level and so much more. MyKayla, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you here. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a while now because I've been a fan forever. And then I met you in real life and I was like, I love her. We're going to be BFFs, even if she doesn't want to.
Oh, I want to. I'm like, we still been planning to hang out.
Yeah.
So we need to do that.
Yeah. After this, we're actually going to schedule when we're going to lunch. And I know you have such a big fan base. You are so loved. Let's talk about what everyone thinks about when they first think of you. Gymnastics. Gymnastics was part of your life for so long. What first drew you to it?
So I feel like it just had to do with my family. My mom was a competitive swimmer.
Okay.
And she put all of us in gymnastics. She loved gymnastics. And I have 3 older siblings. I have a brother and 2 sisters. They all did it.
Oh,
and so I just
okay.
kind of followed in their footsteps.
Oh, so it
that's
really
how I
was
got into it.
It was a family affair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did growing up in Arizona impact your gymnastics career?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I grew up in Arizona. I was born in Arizona. And we actually had a family gym was where I started Olympic gymnastics with Jason and Beth. They were really good friends of ours. I started there. And they just saw a lot of talent in me and were like, you know what? We can't take her where she needs to go. And so, anyway, I ended up at Desert Lights Gymnastics, and that's where I took off in the Elite Olympic program. But I mean, it's my whole life, my whole world, and I'm just so grateful that I had Desert Lights to take me where I could go and to reach my dreams. So grateful for the state of Arizona. I mean, I love it. All of our friends and family are there, and, you know, it helped me to get to my Olympic dream.
And now your little one, Lottie, is taking gymnastics,
yeah,
yes?
Yeah. We started our first Mommy and Me class, which I didn't think was going to happen. I was like, oh, I'll just wait till she's old, you know, because it's like, but she loves it. So now I'm kind of scared because I'm like, I don't know if I want this path for her. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I think about that because I was a competitive dancer growing up, and there are so many things that I loved about it, and there were so many things that I didn't. And I'm always thinking, if I have a child that's like, I want to do that, I'm like, do you?
Right.
But it's just so bittersweet. And speaking of that, I have heard, I mean, I went the dance route. I tumbled a little bit here and there. I wasn't the best at it. Dancing was where my heart was, but I know that you have to make a ton of sacrifices if you want to be at that level of gymnastics. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was really hard. When I was a little girl, I actually kind of hated gymnastics. I loved playing and being there and kind of doing what I wanted, but I hated kind of being told what to do, right? You know, I was like, I just want to have fun, do it when I want.
A girl after my own heart.
Yeah. And so I didn't really like it that much. I would kick and scream, and you know, we pretty much lived at the gym because my other siblings were doing gymnastics. And so my mom's like, hey, we got to go to class, you know, like, let's go do gymnastics. And like, once I was there in the gym, I was fine. It was just like the thought of like, well, I want to go play with my friends and I can't because I'm at gym. And at a young age, gymnastics, like, even if you're not doing the Olympic route, it's a dedication. Like, it's your whole life, you know. Yeah. You're still in the gym 4 hours a day for, you know, being 8, 10 years old, you know. So it was just a lot. And I just wanted to play with friends. So my mom actually kind of kept me back a little bit. And then when we moved to Utah, I did gymnastics at Olympus for 2 years.
Okay.
And my dad got transferred back to Arizona for work, and I actually quit for a year.
Oh, okay.
So, because I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
My mom was just like, it's not worth pushing her. She just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good parent to be like, no, you're going to do gymnastics. Yeah. She was not like that. That's great.
I think it was hard because, you know, the coaches were telling her I had so much talent. So I think she was kind of like, you know, maybe gymnastics needs to be her thing, but I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to play and have a life. Yeah. And so I quit for a year, and then my mom was watching Carly Patterson in the Olympics and just had this feeling, you need to put MyKayla back in gymnastics. So a year later, she puts me back in gymnastics, and I think at that point, like, I kind of started to like it a little bit more and wanted to do it, right? Yeah. And so anyway, it got better, and once I went to Desert Lights, like, my whole world changed. Just because they had foam pits and all these things. So I could actually play with skills, where the other gym was just a smaller gym. They only went to level 8. The highest level is 10, and then you go into the Olympic route. But so, I just kind of fell in love with it more. But, my whole life, like, I feel like, especially at the age of 12, when I went to Desert Lights and I started the elite program, I was doing 7 hours a day of training.
So when I was younger, this is so funny. I did BYU gymnastics camp when I was in
fun.
maybe junior high.
Okay, so fun.
And I mostly did it because I was trying to learn how to tumble for cheerleading. And I remember a lot of my friends that I met there were, they only went to level 8 there and there were a couple of them who were higher than level 8 and they just had to stick them in level 8 because there was nowhere else to put them in the camp. And I remember talking to them, and that was like junior high age. So we're like 12, 13, 14. And they were telling me how often they were at the gym. And I was like, whoa. Oh my word. I thought dancing 4 hours a day was a lot, but it's like a full-time job.
Yeah. It's a lot. So it was like 42 hours a week.
That is insane.
Yeah. So I was actually homeschooled 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. A lot of the girls that were pursuing the Olympics pretty much had to be homeschooled. And I hated being homeschooled so bad. And so once I became a freshman, I was like, I want to go to high school. Yeah. So our school in Gilbert, Higley High School is where I went. They actually worked with me and wanted to give me the opportunity to go to high school. So I like literally missed like 50 to like 60 and then almost like 80 days of school by my senior year. And they had to unenroll me from school and re-enroll me just to like keep me in school to like kind of like fight against or, you know, whatever was going on. But anyway, it was just like crazy. And then I missed I have 12 nieces and nephews. I became an aunt at 10 years old. And so I just love kids. I have a big family and I missed out on birthday parties, activities. I could never really go on vacation because in elite gymnastics, our competition season is in the summer. And so it was like, while all the girls were, you know, at the beach and on vacation, I'm like in the gym busting out really hard routines, you know, because we had a couple elites in our gym, but I was the only one that went as far as I did. And so it was really hard being in the gym by myself, like busting out these really hard routines compared to what the other girls are doing. You know, their routines are a little bit easier. Yeah. And so it was just a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, a lot of tears shed. I
can only imagine.
Hated my life sometimes. I mean, it was good most of the time, but, you know, just like being in the gym, it's hard doing those big, crazy skills. It's scary, you know?
Talk to me. So you talked about how much you sacrificed. Did that all feel like it was worth it when you walked into the Olympic arena for the first time?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we have Worlds, which is every year except the Olympic year. So that's like a pretty big deal. If you make Worlds, like even if you don't make the Olympics, like that's success right there.
I only know Worlds because there was a TV show back in the day that was called like Make It or Break It.
Oh, Yeah.
I think my producer's nodding and you're nodding. So that's when I first heard about Worlds. Yeah. Because like I said, I was in the dance world. And then when I would turn on the Summer Olympics, like I would record like gymnastics is my favorite Summer Olympic sport. Yeah. But I didn't know about Worlds till then.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a big meet. So we're competing against a lot of the same girls from the other countries that make the Olympics. Yes. So I've had like a lot of experience, right? And I thought like going to the Olympics, like, you know, like we dominate most of the time, right? Team USA, like we're the best, right? And so like, I feel like when I got to the Olympics, I was kind of like, oh, it'll be fine. Like we've competed against these girls, but it's like something about Olympics just changes the whole thing. And, you know, we didn't get to have family there. So like that was just weird, like being in the arena with like nobody in there. But yeah, it definitely was like, oh, my hard work paid off. Like this is worth it. Being here in this moment was just so worth it. Even if we were with COVID and didn't get to like have like the full Olympic experience, it was seriously just stepping in that arena was like, I did it. And I remember when I competed the very first event on the first day of prelims, we started on floor. And I feel like every time like every one of us got off the floor, someone was like, you're officially Olympian just because like you made it, you competed in an event at the Olympics, like you did it. And so it was just like so unreal.
Well, and you talked about the U.S. Olympic team is known for being so talented. I mean, it's just been every Olympics. They're just so talented. Talk to us about the selection process because that seems like it'd be really intense. Because I imagine there are so many girls just like you who have spent their entire growing up in the gym working to get to that point. So what is that process like?
Yeah, it's a lot. So every single year we have classics and then we have championships, and at championships you have to make the national team. So you make the national team every year, hopefully. And so once you make the national team, that's when you go and you compete and you represent for Team USA. And we go to national team training camps once a month and we get together. And then sometimes we get sent off and go to Italy and just different meets and compete. And then for the Olympic year, you have classics again, championships, and then only the girls at championships, which the teams, it just varies. You know, sometimes there's 10, 12, 14 girls, depends on how many they take. And only the girls that make the national team go to Olympic trials. So there's only like maybe 14 of us competing, which is crazy.
Jeez,
So it goes from like maybe 20, 30 girls competing at championships trying to make the national team, and then only like 10 to 14 of us make it. And then that group of girls go to Olympic trials. So not very many. So it's really stressful to even compete during the Olympic year at championships because you're like, if I don't make the national team, I don't go to Olympic trials. So very intense process. And then both those meets, championships and Olympic trials, are 2-day competition, which is so hard because you like finish the first day and if you do really well, you're like, man, I got to do it again, you know?
Well, and
like,
if you don't, I feel like that's a mental game. I feel like a lot of gymnastics is mental.
Yes. And to pretty much make that Olympic team, you got to hit 4 for 4 both days. You know what I mean? Like there's not much air to mess up. So it's stressful. And back in 2016, I became the alternate. I placed 4th in the all-around at Olympic trials after both days, which technically to the rule book, you're supposed to take the top 5. And I was 4th in the all-around, and they took 7th and 8th and made me first alternate. So that was really, really hard to go through because I'm like, I should have been on that team, right? You know? And so you know, going as an alternate and having that experience was very, very hard. And I was kind of done with like the Olympics at that point. And so then when I came back from Rio, I went to Utah and competed there and had my college journey. So it was so weird thinking I wanted to come back and go for 2020 because I was like, I love college. This is the best. It's so much easier. It's so much more fun, less pressure. And I like literally told myself, I'm not going to go back for the next Olympics. And then my junior year, I'm like, I think I want to go back, you know, and try one more time. So anyway, it's kind of crazy that I like ended up going back through this, but back in 2016, like sitting in that sitting in that room with like the selection committee in a different room, sitting there, they take like 20 minutes and they're all talking about who we're going to take. And you're just sitting in that room and we're all sitting there, all of us girls, and we're all like holding hands and we're all just like dead silent, like who's it going to be? What's going to happen? You know? And then they just come walking through that room and you see like, especially in 2016, you see Marta, the Olympic coach, come in and you're like, oh my gosh. And then they start saying one name at a time, you know, and then when you hear that 5th name being called and then, you know, your name being like alternate, you're just like, I just felt so defeated. Like I did everything I could to make that Olympic team. I did, you know, extra athletic training, and then I did dance classes because I'm not flexible. And so we worked a lot on like presentation and artistry and form and my flexibility because I was like, I need to do everything I can to make this Olympic team. And I worked so hard and I placed 4th in the all-around and I'm like, they didn't take me. And I just remember like sitting in that room. I was texting my sister and my mom up in the stands and I'm like, do you think they're going to take me? Just because in gymnastics, there's a lot of politics, right? And so there's just been times where like I've kind of been screwed over and over again. And so I just felt like even though I placed 4th, was it good enough? You know? So it was really hard being that alternate. But then going back into 2020, and I guess it was 2021 because of COVID, it got pushed back a year. But being in that room for a second time was not fun, let me tell you, because then I kind of knew what to expect, right? And it's even harder because since I came back into the gymnastics world, you know, things have changed. Marta wasn't the Olympic coach. They got a new Olympic coach. And then, you know, there's just, you know, all that stuff with Larry Nassar and just everything that went on. So they kind of went a different route with everything, which was amazing. And the selection committee, like everything just had changed. So it was just so different than before. And because of them kind of cheating the process in 2016, they talked a lot about it's probably going to be fair. Like a lot throughout Tom Forrester coming back and being the new Olympic coach, he did a lot of things more fair. Took rank order.
Oh,
and
interesting.
So anyway, so it's just a lot more fair. They didn't, you know.
Yeah.
Which is how it should be. If you place and you make it, you should make it, right?
Yeah.
Because like with swimming, you touch the wall. Yeah. You know, you're in.
Well, and that's what's so interesting with gymnastics, and like when I've known from dance, it's very, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
It's so subjective, and it's very much, and that's how, like you mentioned, politics can get involved.
Right. Right.
And so it's very, like you said, with swimming, you touch the wall, you did it.
Right.
You shoot a basket, it goes through.
Yeah.
Like, it's very clear. But with gymnastics, how it's so much artistry, I can imagine.
It's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah. So anyway, I was just sitting in that room, and they come walking in. And when I first came back to train for the 2020 Olympic Games, I went to Tom Forrester and I said, hey, can I do just floor and vault? Because with the 2020 Olympics, they went back to a 4-man team, it's always been like Magnificent 7, and then they went to 5, and then 2021, they decided to do a 4-man team and add 2 event specialists. So you get to go to the Olympics, but you don't compete for team.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of different. And then this last Olympics, they went back to a 5-man team. I'm like, if they would have went back to 5, I would have made it, because I was 4th day 1 of Olympic trials in 2021, and then I placed 5th day 2 by like half a tenth.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, they're going to take rank order probably.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make the Olympic team.
Yeah.
And so when I first came back, I said, can I do floor and vault and go for the individual spot? Jade Carey, this is really confusing. There's a lot to it.
We're learning so much about the inner workings of gymnastics.
Yeah, sorry. I need to take a step back. So for the 2 event specialist spot, for one of them, you could go and compete certain meets throughout the year. And if you won so many, you automatically got that individual spot. And then at Worlds the year before, we competed, and since we were like the top team, we qualified to get the 2nd individual spot. So only a few countries got that.
Oh.
And we had to win it basically to get that second individual spot for someone to go. And the reason they did this is because a lot of other countries aren't very strong as a team. So they wanted athletes to have more of a chance that are more individual events and not all around. Yeah, to be able to compete and have a chance, right?
And it's just some countries are smaller.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. is a very big country, and some countries are smaller. And it's like, well, we can't make a team, but this woman is so good at what she does. She should be able to compete. She should be able to go, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a cool idea, but anyway, so Tom was like, oh, well, we already have Jade Carey going for floor and vault. So that 2nd spot, we want to take someone for bars and beam. And I specialize in floor and vault.
Yeah.
So Jade was already competing and doing all that and almost had the spot secured for her. Yeah. And so he's like, we want you for all around. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back. I'm going to do all 4 events. I can do this, And so I worked really hard. And my first, year back, I made the national team in 3 months. Yeah. I made the world selection team. In 4 months, and I wasn't even planning on going to the world selection camp because my main goal was to try to get ready for the Olympics, since I didn't have a lot of time. And so he's like, just come to world selection camp, it'll be okay, just get some more meets under your belt. I ended up placing 4th at world selection camp, and all around they took 6, so 5, and they take an alternate. So 6 of us went, and the day before prelims, Tom made me the alternate, and I'm like, I placed 4th again in the all-around. There's a 5-man team, and then they put me alternate. So, I had to take a step back, and I was like, you know what? It's okay. I've only had a few months of training. I've made it this far. Wasn't even planning on coming to Worlds. Yeah. My main goal is the Olympics. So we got through Worlds, cheered the girls on, was so proud of them. And I'm like, I'm even grateful I get to be here, because I wasn't even thinking I was make it this far in this short amount of time of coming back from college back into elite. So anyway, we come back, and we start, training for the Olympics, whatever. And we're sitting in that room. Sorry, I'm jumping. But we go back into the selection committee at Olympic trials. We're sitting in the room. And so, I did everything I could to do the all around. And there's many times that I proved it and did really well. So anyway, the selection committee comes in. They start naming the team, they go rank order, Simone, Suni, Jordan. Yeah. And then they do Grace was the 4th. And so I'm sitting there I'm going to be alternate again, oh my gosh, I was so close again. Yeah. And then he goes, Jade Carey and MyKayla Skinner, event specialists, get to go for the 2-man team. So he took me anyway, even though Jade did floor and vault. And so I ended up going.
How did that feel?
At first, I was really shocked, because I thought I was going to be put alternate, because I thought he would take someone for bars and beam. And then I look at my coach, Lisa, and she's like, you're going to the Olympics, you made it. Who cares? Even though you didn't make it for the team, who cares? You get to go and do this for yourself. You know, like you work so hard for this, you get to go, so we're just gonna live it up, and we're gonna go back and work really hard the next 2 weeks before we head to Tokyo. And you know, this is your moment to shine. You know, you've worked so hard ever since you were a little girl. Like, who cares? You know.
Yeah.
And so it did take me a while to process that, because I'm like, well, he told me he needed me for team, and then I did all the events, and then I'm going as an event specialist. You know, so it was just a lot to process, but after being back in the gym and working, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I get to go and do this for me. You know, so it was really, really cool. It was cool. So,
and so,
yeah,
I
it was
mean,
crazy.
Honestly, you're in that moment. You're like, oh my gosh, like all my hard work, it's paying off. What would you say to maybe, you know, younger gymnasts who are like, this is the path I want to go to, but they're, you know, maybe they're feeling discouraged.
Yeah.
Or I don't get to see my friends this much. I'm discouraged. Is this going to happen for me? What would you say to them?
Well, you know, I was that girl once upon a time, and it seriously, it is so, so hard. And it's hard seeing so many girls be amazing at gymnastics, and, you know, they choose to quit and retire and end up not wanting to do it just because they do want to have a life. So I totally get it, but I'm like, you know what? Like, again, you can never say never, and like, go for it. Like, go live your dream. Like, I feel like if I would have just gave up, I would not have been where I was today, you know? So I'm so glad that I pushed myself. I went for it. And I always say, like, there's so much more to life than just gymnastics. There's so much more to life than just the Olympics. Like, looking at myself now, like, winning an Olympic medal was amazing, right? And I always dreamed of that. But, like, being married, becoming a mom, like, that's greater to me than having an Olympic medal around my neck. You know, like, there's just so much more to life. And so I feel like sometimes we just get so stuck in this bubble of like, I have to be the best athlete. I have to, you know, go to the Olympics, or, you know, you have just all these things, all these goals and all these dreams. And that's amazing. Like, go hard, pursue it. But if you don't make it, it's okay. If you want to quit, that's okay, you know, but I feel like the biggest thing for me was just never giving up, give it 100%, and being able to accomplish what I have has been amazing. But even if I decided not to go to the Olympics and finish my college journey, that would have been great too, you know? So like whatever direction I went would have been amazing. And I feel like God would have helped me either way. Like, there's no right direction. Like, you get to pick your path, you get to choose where you want to go. And I feel like God's going to help you find that, you know, wherever you decide. And so I think just trusting that gut feeling and believing in yourself and having confidence will take you really far.
I think that's beautiful. And you mentioned a little bit, you know, you went from an elite gymnast to retirement. Was that like hard to navigate, or were you like, I am ready?
Yeah, I mean, I was ready. I was 24 in the Olympics, which was the oldest gymnast since like 19 something. Like, it was
gymnastics is like dance. And once you're older than like 16, 17, they're like, you are so old. Right. And it's like you have an expiration date on you. And it is, so that can be a completely other conversation that we could talk about. But that's what you're told.
I know, right?
All the time.
Right. Yeah. And like, usually in gymnastics, you peak from 16 to 18. Yeah. And obviously, I feel like, you know, in the MARTA era, we were beat pretty hard, you know, like we ran our bodies to the ground, and my coach was very good at like not overdoing it, and I feel like that really helped my body to last a lot longer. And I feel like we're seeing that more in gymnastics now. It's not like 500 routines, you know, it's like, we got to take care of your body so you can last and make it. And so it's been really cool to see these athletes be able to go longer in gymnastics. Like, it's been awesome. Like, even for me, like, to compete at 24, and then I think Simone, since she went for the last one, you know, she, you know, topped me on that, you know, she was the oldest. And I was like, man, I thought I was old at 24. I'm like, I don't know how you did it again, you know, how to go back and still do another Olympics. So it's just really cool to see a lot more athletes being older and being able to, you know, go a lot longer. So cool.
And I want to talk more about that. You've been very vocal about the mental and emotional side of gymnastics. There's so much pressure on you physically, yes, but so much pressure on you mentally. What advice would you give to young athletes who are maybe, you know, struggling with that pressure?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, being a 12-year-old, I mean, I guess 13, 14, was, you know, I started the Olympic route when I was like 12, but at 13 and 14, you know, my name was starting to get out there. I was starting to gain a following. So at a very young age, I was put into the public eye, and it was hard. Like, you're a child, you're growing, you're learning, and so it's like, any little thing you say, and like, even if you're not meaning it, you know, it's like it gets taken out of context, or, you know, people don't like what you have to say. And so it's just really hard, because I feel like as kids, we make mistakes. That's how we grow, right? We learn and we grow.
That's how everyone grows.
Right. And so I'm like, it's like the same thing with gymnastics. If I never fell on, you know, that routine, how would I get back up and improve and be better? And so obviously being a young kid, it was hard, you know, being on social media and just making sure that I do stuff right, because we all make mistakes. We don't do things the way the world always wants us to. And so there was a lot of things that I went through at a young age that was just really, really hard. And then obviously, like a year ago, I went through one of the hardest times in my life. And I don't wish it upon anybody. Like, seeing other people go through their things throughout, you know, the last year or two through social media, I'm always like, man, like, I'm so glad that's not me. I can't imagine, like, going through that. And then it happened to me, and I was in a dark, dark place. And it's hard being a mom. You know, you have to be strong every day, and you're like, I have to take care of my child. And I felt like all day just wanted to, like, sit in the room and stare at the wall, and just, like, it just sunk in every day, like, worse and worse and worse. Thanks. And it's still affecting me to this day, even though we're almost a year out from it. So I just feel like, I mean, the biggest thing is opening up to people, having conversations with people, having people to support you. I think just holding it all in doesn't help. You know, I feel like having family and that support, and all my friends that, like, came to my house and let me shed tears, and to just support me through all of that was the biggest thing. But yeah, like, social media it's hard. And I feel like I've learned to block it out until social media has just changed the last 2 or 3 years. It just has hit just so much harder and so different, especially, like, being in the public eye. It was like it went on the news and just all these different things so quick. And so it just got so rampant so fast. And it was like, I just didn't know how to feel, how to process it, what I really needed to do. And again, like, therapy, just there's so many things. And yeah, it's just so hard. I feel like you got to block it out is, like, the easiest thing. And you just got to remember who you are, like, what you meant. Like, I was not intentionally, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody. That's not my intentions, you know.
You are a very, very kind human.
Thanks. I feel like I've just been through a lot as an athlete, you know, through the MARTA era to now. Like, I've just lived a really hard life. Like, anybody in the gymnastics world that's, you know, did elite gymnastics in the MARTA era it was tough, right? Like, there's just so many things I went through at such a young age that was really, really hard. And there's just a lot of things that I'm coping with and processing and trying to just figure out, and how can I get help, and, you know, how can I improve? And yeah, anyway, mental health is a big thing. And especially going through something like this, like, it's helped me to be more of an advocate. And there's a lot more, like, I just feel like I haven't been in the right mental place yet. Like, I'm getting there and I'm trying to work on myself, but eventually at some point, like, I want to be a big advocate for mental health.
And
because
I am, like, tapping her on her knee. With this podcast and with this show, if you've listened before, I am a huge advocate for mental health, because I joke, but, you know, because it's like, if you don't joke, you cry. I feel like I came out of the womb with anxiety. I have had anxiety and depression my entire life. And there have been moments in my life where, you know, you get to that place. And one of the best things, like you said, is to talk to people, is to have a therapist, and to not be afraid to say, hey, I'm struggling mentally. And I think, like, you know, I dance, like I said, you've done gymnastics. I think that's so important for people to know at a young age that you can do that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on this trajectory, whatever sport it is, whatever you're going for, whether it's the Olympics or not, to be like, hey, my mental health is not in a good place right now. I need some help.
Yeah.
Because we all go through hard things, and the world is so much better with you in it.
Yeah.
And it is, I applaud you for being so open with that.
Thanks.
Because it is so important. And it's still a little taboo when you're young.
Yeah.
When you're young, you don't want to talk about it. As you get older and more comfortable in yourself, you're like, yeah, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
But those young kids, they need to hear that. And those young girls who are like, I want to go to the Olympics. Like, I'm not doing well, but you know what? MyKayla was strong enough to talk about her mental health, so I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing that you're doing that.
Thanks. Well, and I just feel like, you know, even being open on social media, like just seeing a lot of the women that, you know, they don't go into full stories, right? But just even hearing like the comments they make of that really helped me. Thanks for sharing. Like, we all go through it as women, right? I mean, everybody. We all have trials and struggles and things we're going through. And like being a mom, you know, postpartum and just everything that comes with it. It's a lot.
PPD really bad.
Ugh,
so, and I mean, I messaged you the other day talking about mental health.
I know, like
so we could have a whole other podcast talking about mental health.
Right.
So it's so important.
It's so, so important.
Because like you said, you have people, you were thrust into the public eye really early and you have people looking at you, and to be so brave and talk about that, that is amazing. So I'm sure so many people would thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
Before we wrap up, we love you. You're doing so much. What are your goals right now? Like, what is next for you? Do you think you'll stay connected to the sport? Like, I know little Lottie, I know she keeps you busy.
Yeah. I mean, after like last year with what I went through, I thought I was going to hate gymnastics for the rest of my life, which is hard because it's my whole life, right? Like, that's all I know. But I feel like taking Lottie to her first Mommy and Me gymnastics class reopened the door, and I'm like, it's okay. Like, we make mistakes, and I want to show my daughter that it's okay to make mistakes, right? Yeah. And I want to be that for her. I want to be that support system. I want to cheer her on. I want to be her biggest cheerleader like my mom and dad were for me. And that's what I want to teach her, is just to love, enjoy, and go chase your dreams, because I had that support and just made my life so much easier, right? And whether she does gymnastics or not, I don't care. Like, sometimes I'm like, I would love for her to do gymnastics, but my husband's 6'7". So
he
I'm
is
like,
very tall.
Very tall. So I'm like, gymnastics might not be her sport, because everyone's always like, she's so tall. She's only average in height, but it's hard to tell now. But so maybe I'm like, we'll do something else. So it might be fun to go a different direction, because all I know is gymnastics. So anyway, just getting into that life here soon with her growing up and getting into sports. But I mean, it's always been my dream to be a mom. So I'm like, I just want to have more kids. I want to be a mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm thriving. I love it. It's hard at times for sure, but it's great. And I've kind of thought, like, I went to school for sports broadcasting and journalism. So I thought I would just like get right into like college gymnastics and do sports broadcasting. But I retired right from the Olympics. I came home. I finished my last year of school, got pregnant, was really sick the whole time, and then had Charlotte. And so I've just been like really busy with that. But I'm like, it kind of be nice to have a normal job. Like, I've never really worked before. Like, I guess I do social media and like kind of influence. I hate being called like an influencer, 'cause I'm like, I was known for gymnastics, and I've had to like kind of jump into this world, you know, just to like keep my name out there, which is hard because I don't love social media. Like, it's hard, you know, again, being in the public eye, it's just very hard. But sometimes I tell my husband, I'm like, maybe I should go work at like Free People, you know, just to get out of the house, get dressed up, like interact with people. Like, I've never had a job, you know, since I was very little. All I've done is gymnastics, which is like a job, a full-time job, right? But it's not like I was always being paid for it and, you know, all that stuff. So I'm like, I just want to know what it's like to, you know, maybe even to work at McDonald's, you know, like I've just never done that. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, well, if you go the broadcasting route, we could be, you know, coworkers at some point.
That would be like my mom's dream. She's like, you need to be on TV. You need to do broadcasting.
We'll stay tuned for the MyKayla show.
I may be back, guys.
We'll think of a really clever name for it.
That would be fun. And anyway.
I love that for you. And your daughter is so precious. Thanks. And it is, I always tell people, being a mom is the hardest yet most rewarding thing I've ever done. It is like so hard, but then so wonderful. Yeah. So it's a job in itself. Yeah. People who are like, do you do anything else besides be a mom? I'm like, hey, look, being a mom is a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work, and you love them. Right. But it is a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, especially when we don't have a job. Like, a lot of my friends that have had jobs and then kind of be a stay-at-home mom for a little bit, they're like, I got to go back to work. Just because you get that little me time that you don't really get anymore. It's hard. It is hard being on 24/7.
Oh, yeah. So you can't be off. When they're sick, it's too bad. Yeah. Like, there was a reel out that came out a while ago that talked about they were saying everything a mom does to someone. And they're like, would you take this job? And they're like, you don't get any sick days. You're on 24/7. You can't eat till your associate eats. And one of the people was like, is this legal? Yeah. And then at the end, they were like, this is a mom.
Yeah.
And one of the sweet people they were interviewing was
I
like, oh, moms are the best.
That's
so
cute.
It is. It's hard, but it's amazing. Yep. Well, MyKayla, we have loved talking to you. And when we wrap up, we do something called the Fresh Five, where I ask you 5 random questions.
Okay.
We get to know you. I mean, we've gotten to know you really fast, but your first question is, if you could pick, who is your favorite Disney princess?
Oh my gosh, Cinderella.
What?
Yeah. Is she your favorite?
Yes.
I'm like, I love Cinderella. I'm like, Cinderella better be Charlotte's favorite because I just love Cinderella. I mean, she's a classic, right?
Well, you on my desk out there is my Cinderella brush that my husband got me.
Okay, I need to go see it before I leave.
There's that. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Number 2, if you could eat anything for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, this is so hard. I love French fries and chocolate milk.
And that was really specific, and you were ready to go.
I know. I like French fries with ketchup and chocolate milk. I like live on Dutch Bros chocolate milk. I could go like every single day and get a large chocolate milk with caramel and soft top. Like, it's so good.
Well, she was ready to go with that. I love it. If you could live in a TV show, this was one of my favorite questions. If you could live in a TV show or a movie, what one would you want to live in?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, she wasn't as ready with that as the chocolate milk and fries.
I like, even though like I wouldn't want to live in like a reality TV show, like, you know, like, oh my gosh, now I'm like, can't think of names. Like Love is Blind or, you know, like I feel like it'd be cool to like
watch it happen.
Yeah, yes. And like kind of like just be there and experience it.
Yeah.
Even though like I watch it, I'm like, I would not want to do that. But I think it'd be kind of cool, just to like kind of be a fly on the wall, experience it, see what really goes on behind the scenes.
Because my husband and I love watching Love Island, the UK version specifically.
Yes,
and they just sit out in the sun for 8 weeks. And I'm like, I would like that
like
vacation.
A free vacation.
And I would also, like when I'm watching it, I feel like I'm like the mom. I'm like, oh, sweetie, you should be honest with your feelings. Oh, honey, that hurt her feelings. Oh, that hurt his feelings.
Right.
Like, you need to talk to each other. I would like to be there to take care
yes,
of everyone.
Yes, because I feel like I couldn't like bring the drama. You know, I mean, I probably could, but like, I just like would be the nice one that everyone would probably be bored of me because I just would, want to be the mom and be like, don't say that, don't do that, you're on camera, don't, you know, just because like being in the public eye, I think I like, you know all those things, like don't say that, don't do that. Yeah. And so, I don't know, but it'd be fun.
I get you. Okay.
It'd be fun.
All right, number 4, where is your dream vacation spot?
Oh gosh, this is so hard. Sorry, I'm hitting the mic. I mean, me and my husband have talked a lot about going to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Which he like wants to move there one day. Yeah. So I don't know if it's like a dream. I've traveled a lot. Yeah. For gymnastics, I've been to a lot of places.
Like, she just casually dropped that she went to Italy for gymnastics. I should have thought
I'm like everywhere. Yep. Germany, Scotland, Italy, like Tokyo, Brazil, just tons of places. I would like to go back to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. That's like a dream of mine just because we didn't really get to explore it during the Olympics. Okay. And I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, Puerto Rico, my husband would want to live there. I've heard some fun things about, I don't know what the area's called, but I don't know. It'd be kind of fun. Okay. I finally went on a good vacation to Hawaii, and then we just went to Cancun. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get vacations now. It's not just for gymnastics. This is what life is like. Like, you know, this is awesome.
I love it.
So, yeah.
If you could have, we'll do this one, your final one. If you could have a song on repeat, if you had to have a song on repeat and not get sick of it, what would it be?
I'm trying to think what the name is called now. It's A Climb by Miley Cyrus. I love that song.
We love the moment she went from Hannah Montana to Miley. Yep. The Climb.
I know. It's just so good.
You know what? A good song is a good song.
Yeah, it just gets me in like I cry every time just because I'm like, it fits with my journey.
And you know what? So many people relate to that song. Yeah. I was on Peloton the other day and that was one of the songs that was playing. And I was crying because it was one of those, you know, as a mom, sometimes you just have hard mom days. And it was my 30 minutes of me time, and it was an International Women's Month ride.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they were playing the climb and talking about things, and I was like,
This is it. You can't function the rest of the day. You're like, all because of this song.
Love it. Well, we have loved talking to you. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for coming in, and everyone who has listened, thank you. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.